Hi, I'm Greta Bhatia Villagran. I'm the CEO and founder of Pinary.
So welcome to SAP. I am Axel running product marketing for Quote to Cash and the GRC portfolio, including global trade services.
Nice to meet you, Axel. And I'm so glad that you took out the time from your busy schedule to talk to me about GTS edition for HANA. And I think you are the perfect person to talk about some of the questions that the customers have been asking us. The first question that I would like to address that comes up quite a bit is for Cloud Edition, for GTS edition for HANA. Can companies use their own hyperscaler rather than using SAP's RISE? If yes, does SAP classify that as on-prem or is it still considered cloud?
Yeah. Okay. So companies can choose to either obtain the software license for global trade services in a standard licensing model, and then they can do what they want with it. So they can also choose to run it somewhere, maybe on a hyperscaler, maybe in their own data center, while companies might see this as some kind of a cloud consumption. From the SAP perspective, this would be an on-premise usage of SAP software because we hand over the license and then customers can do with it. What we recommend to our customers is to make use of global trade services in the context of a RISE agreement. We will also discuss what RISE is actually, what's the purpose of RISE and what's the value of RISE. But we would rather recommend to consume global trade service also as a service from SAP and make sure that the innovations that SAP provide for global trade services on the long run are available in the best possible way, and also the efficiency of running global trade services is optimized. This is the case with a RISE-based consumption of global trade services.
Yeah, since you mentioned RISE, let's explain to the viewer what exactly is RISE and what are the benefits of RISE.
So RISE is actually three things. It's a combination of products that customers can use because they belong together. It is primarily S/4HANA. It is also elements of the Signavio process suite of products that helps companies to transform. It's the business technology platform that provides the analytics and also the whole runtime environment from a platform perspective. So it's a combination of products, but it's much more than that. It is also a way of transforming, and it provides the capability for every company to not only stay with the innovation that SAP delivers, but also maintain the highest possible security, reliability, and also efficiency with the whole ERP environment. So in a nutshell, it's a combination of products, and it's as well a journey to a situation where the whole ERP information technology is managed on a higher level with more efficiency and more agility, and as well with more innovation.
Mm-hmm. So when we say it's going to be more efficiency and more reliability when companies choose SAP RISE, what are the responsibilities of the customer versus SAP when they choose RISE?
So with a RISE agreement, a customer delegates responsible to run the solution to SAP. So the ERP environment becomes a service provided through SAP. It's not anymore that companies just get the product and then have to deal with it. It's really that SAP takes care on running it. As part of that, we agree with customers on which hyperscaler this should be implemented.
Do customers still get to choose the hyperscaler?
Absolutely. So there's full choice depending on the individual hyperscaler strategy. However, it is SAP that is the one single party for the customer to run the cloud ERP system. And global trade services can be part of that, But also customers can start with global trade services and try and test this way of working with SAP.
Just to clarify, SAP is running the technical part on the RISE. That does not mean that SAP is actually implementing Edition for HANA. RISE is after functionality has been moved into the productive environment. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, and thank you for mentioning that. However, you are right that SAP is not the primary partner of implementing this journey, this project, or this transformation. Pinary would be a partner who could do that. Other partners are available as well. We invest a lot in enabling our partners. However, as part of the RISE concept, SAP also provides the whole methodology for implementation, the so-called clean core methodology, specific services to support the journey and the transformation into a RISE future. So it's a way of working with the ecosystem and with SAP to transform from a mostly very complex, very homegrown, and also very costly situation that many customers have right now into a transformed, more efficient, more open for innovation type of ERP environment.
Mm-hmm. And another point I would like to clarify is that SAP RISE team would support the basis activities, not the daily operations in the system, like releasing the block documents. They're not doing that. They're only working on the technical side of the system in the background.
That's correct. So while SAP runs the system, provides, for example, basis support, and would also support to extend the system landscape, for example, if that's necessary due to scalability requirements. Still, the customer is in charge of understanding, do I need an extension of the system? Do I really want to make use of that specific upgrade, or do I want to wait for the next one? So from that perspective, customers could still use basis experts to run that, because it's very important to note that the whole RISE concepts is using a private cloud concept. So customers are in charge of their ERP environment still. It's not an environment that they share with other customers and that is per se standardized with all customers like it would be in the true software as a service world. So it is really a great combination of individuality, take your own steps, follow your own path, and still a much more harmonized way of running SAP.
Do customers still should have their own in-house basis experts if SAP is handling the responsibility?
I would recommend to keep this expertship to some extent. However, it is also an opportunity to lower the extent to which companies need to maintain their teams in that specific area and rather focus their own IT activities into which processes should be supported. How could the S4 system best facilitate the company strategy with which functionality, where to use the standard or where to invest into specific developments. Those kinds of questions kept more attention to since resources are freed up from the pure running of the system.
When it comes to SAP RISE and the service pack upgrades, for example, right, the new service pack, does SAP RISE team take the responsibility and notify the customer? Or does the customer have to reach out to SAP RISE team and request for that upgrade?
So there's, if you have a RISE agreement with SAP, then there's a clear governance established throughout the 3 or 4 or 5 years contract. And that includes regular pit stops, joint alignments, and overall a very close interaction. So we make sure that customers know about new releases as soon as possible. And not only that they knew about the new releases, also they knew whether or not they make a lot of sense for them. So we discuss the business value of new capabilities in our software with our RISE customers and make sure that they can understand whether or not they want to upgrade or not.
And to put it out there, it's also good to make it clear that customers still need to have their own internal resources to perform the regression testing or any testing after the upgrade.
Yes.
SAP RISE team will not perform the testing, is that correct?
Absolutely. So testing, like also the other project work, like process definitions or more organizational elements of the transformation journey. Also the testing is purely a customer-driven activity and should also be organized and should be taken care of by our customers.
Okay. Now, if we shift the topic a little bit to co-deployment versus standalone. So before we completely change the topic, a smooth transition would be to ask you if SAP RISE is available for both standalone and co-deployment?
Absolutely. So if you speak about global trade services, from a RISE perspective, it doesn't matter if you want to have it as a separate instance, run it as a separate deployment or as a co-deployed on the same stack as S4. Both is possible within a RISE agreement. It's just a matter of the architectural setup overall. I might want to have it separated for several reasons. Maybe it connects to several S4 systems, or also my transportation management system is separate, and for some reason I want to keep it separate from that perspective. So there's the choices that you can make from an architectural perspective, regardless of whether or not you choose to run this with a RISE agreement.
I see. Can you give any tips to the customers when they're trying to decide between S4 and co-deployment? Because now the challenge is that previously with GTS 11 and lower versions, customer would purchase the licenses, right? And then they could do the sizing and they could decide other things, and different team members were doing different parts. Now with GTS Edition for HANA, it seems it's really hard to segregate those responsibilities. To decide if when the customer is moving to GTS Edition for HANA, they also need to understand co-deployment versus standalone, which means the sizing comes into play before they even decide to purchase the licenses. So all those activities as a whole have to be looked at. So are there any tips as to, if I'm confused, I don't know, is standalone better for me? Is co-deployment, etc.,
I think there are two main criteria to look after here from an architectural point of view. The co-deployment is definitely a way of more efficiently use technical infrastructure, and that has an immediate impact on the overall cost. So there's some synergies that can be drawn from co-deployment. However, from an integration perspective, if I co-deploy with one S4 system, but I have 10 other S4 systems and a transportation management or an EWM instance as well to connect, it could be more elegant from an integration or management of the integrations to have it separated. Standalone. I would in general recommend to discuss this with the RISE team of SAP when the whole RISE infrastructure is being designed. That's an element of our interaction before we agree on an agreement for 3 years or 4 years. So SAP does support the sizing exercise. We have teams in the field in all regions who consult our customers on this setup. And that's of course for free. So I really recommend to check for all of those options from a really technical perspective and then choose the best.
That's good to know that those services are provided for free, so customers can have their discovery session or something like that with the team members. Do they reach out to their account executive?
Yes.
For that? Okay. And then the last question I have is, there is a new term now that people are asking about. It's GROW.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between RISE and GROW?
Okay. So GROW is referring to the use of S/4HANA, which is the same software that we used to sell only on-premise. It's the same code line, the same thing. In a RISE contract, we provide it as a private cloud solution, as just discussed. In GROW, we provide the SaaS version of S4HANA, which is a public cloud solution, software as a service, and we call it S4HANA Public Cloud Edition. So that's the first difference. With GROW, you focus on using SaaS software, and with RISE, you focus on evolving maybe an on-prem grown SAP ERP landscape into something that is a private cloud managed by SAP.
So public cloud on the S4 is GROW, private cloud is RISE for both S4 and GTS edition
Correct.
for HANA. You gave a lot of good information. Thank you for that.